Hi, my name is Simone Ashley. I am a classically trained multimedia journalist, graduated with a multimedia journalism degree, worked for a few entities like ESPN, NPR, done international traveling, all that. I say that to say this. Usually I like being behind the scenes, but now I decided, why keep all this information to myself? I want to help you be the next Oprah Winfrey or whatever, whoever you want to be. But I'll turn you into Oprah. So let's get into the 5 keys to conducting a good interview. Okay, key number 1, one of the most important keys, know your subject. And I'm not saying know them personally, but do a quick Google research on the person that you are interviewing. It may not be a celebrity. It may be your average Joe or somebody you met, somebody has a dope story. Go on their social media channels, get to little more information about them than going into the interview or having them get on the Zoom call. You know nothing. That is probably the worst thing you could possibly do, because it helps you shape your questions. And when you have the right information or the right basic information, then that would kind of lead the conversation and lead it a lot smoother than if you're asking questions you can just Google. So know your subject. That leads to key number 2. Write open-ended questions and leave room for pivot questions. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of people that go into an interview, oh, I got this subject, blah, blah. I want to ask them this, or this, and this, and make sure, and like you're doing everything you can just to get through your list of questions, thinking that you know where the conversation is going to go. What kind of conversation is that? Nobody wants to listen to that. Go into the interview open-minded and willing to pivot your questions, because sometimes when you're talking to your interviewee, like they may give you more information. They may give you like a juicy tidbit or something like that, and you don't want to leave that out of your ultimate story or the ultimate conversation. So know when to pivot your question. That's going to be very important, and make sure you have open-ended questions, and be okay with not getting through your whole list of questions. It may not happen, and there may be throwaway questions that you may realize that you didn't need to begin with. Relax, be okay with, being open with your questions. And that leads to key number 3. Listen, Linda. Listen to your subject when they are talking, because that is going to determine which way the conversation is going to go. Now, you can have an overarching theme of how you want to kind of keep the conversation, which that will be in key number 4. But you want to listen, because the more you listen, the more you can engage and really just be having a regular conversation, which is what people want to hear. People listen to interviews or things like that because they want good information and they want to hear a really dope conversation. So why not be engaged? Because when you listen, that causes you to be engaged, and that causes the person watching to be engaged as well. Key number 4 is know when to revert the conversation back. And remember, just a little bit ago, I said there's always an overarching theme. You do not want to deviate from the overarching theme of the interview or the conversation. However, you do want to have room in there to move. But some people, like for instance, I did a video interview. Video's more my thing. Some people, they like to go on tangents. And tangents are cool, but not everybody wants to hear a tangent. Sometimes you want a clear, concise conversation that was smooth and it just goes well. Well, you have to know when your subject is kind of going on a tangent, and you have to find that space to interrupt them and say, hey, agree with what they're saying, whatever, get the repertoire and say, so, and then pivot the conversation back. That is very important, because last thing you want to do is have a conversation filled with tangents, because nobody wants to hear that. You don't even want to hear it. So know how to reroute your conversation. And that leads to number 5, key number 5, know when to get out of there. Know when the conversation is over, because the last thing you want is that awkward pause. The awkward pause is probably the most awkward thing you can have, especially in a video interview or in podcast, because it's audio. You want to know when the conversation is over, know when to say, all right, I'm glad, thanks for coming here today, or thanks for coming on the show today, appreciate what they said, and get out of there. Because like I said, nobody wants, if you don't get out of there during the sweet spot, you're going to kind of mess up the clear and concise feeling of the conversation you just had. So those are the 5 keys. Now you're Oprah Winfrey if you do those 5 keys, because she knew how to get out of a conversation, how to be clear. No, I'm just playing. But if you take these 5 keys, I promise you, you're going to be a much better interviewer. So let's go over them one more time. Number 1, know your subject and do your research. That is most important. Number 2, write open-ended questions and know when to pivot, which leads to key number 3, listen and engage in the conversation, because that is how your audience will be engaged. Number 4, know when to reroute the conversation back to the overarching theme. And number 5, know when to get out of there, because nobody likes a dead conversation and nobody likes a tangent. But I hope that you find these keys helpful. Follow me on Instagram. I'll be doing a lot more of these videos. I hope this is helpful. Thanks for listening.